pigs.
If you're looking for me, you better check under the sea, 'cause that is where you'll find me, underneath the sea.
Welcome to Water Damage with your host, Gil Mancha. This is my chronological discussion of the King of the Seven Seas, Aquaman. Disclaimer, I will be actively getting and collecting issues as we go, and I'm trying to only cover issues that I have a physical copy of or are in a collected edition. I'm going to try to stray away from digital because I love physical media, but the DC Universe Infinite app would be a great way to keep up with the podcast. Be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify or preferred platform to get episodes as soon as they drop. While you're there, please leave a review so the show can be recommended to other comic book fans. In today's episode, we're covering Adventure Comics number 273, Around the World in 80 Hours. Links will be in the podcast notes. According to LeagueofComicGeeks.com, this issue was released on April 28, 1960. Let's take a look back at what else was happening that day in history.
Do it again!
The top of the music charts on this day in the US was Stuck on You by Elvis Presley, and in the UK was My Old Man's a Dustman by Lonnie Donegan. The top of the box office was Please Don't Eat the Daisies. Popular TV shows include You Bet Your Life, Perry Mason, 77 Sunset Strip, and The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. If you were a child or teen, you'd be watching TV shows like Tom and Jerry, Lassie, The Rough and Ready Show, and Clutch Cargo. Popular toys include The Frisbee, Metal House Robots, Crater Critters, and Play Pal Dolls. Stuck on You by Elvis Presley is a rock and roll and blues song released on March 23, 1960. It was written by Aaron Schroeder and J. Leslie McFarland. It's one of those playful, I'm gonna get you sort of songs that out of context can read like a horror movie or some stalker with the lyrics, hide in the kitchen, hide in the hall, ain't gonna do you no good at all, 'cause once I catch you and the kissing starts, a team of wild horses couldn't tear us apart. That aside, the song gives that 60s vibe and Elvis's vocal range isn't dynamic. Overall, if it's playing, I'm not skipping it, but I'm also not searching for it. This was Elvis's first hit single after his 2-year stint in the US Army. At the bottom left of the album sleeve was the statement, Elvis's first new recording for his 50 million fans all over the world. Looking across the sea to the UK top single, My Old Man's a Dustman by Lonnie Donegan is a folk, music hall, and pop song released on March 16, 1960. It was written by Lonnie Donegan, Peter Buchanan, and Beverly Thorne, though Thorne was not credited on the original release. The chorus of the song is, Oh, my old man's a dustman. He wears a dustman's hat. He wears core blimey trousers, and he lives in a council flat. It's speculated that inspiration was taken from My Father Was a Fireman with the title and lyric of Core Blimey Trousers. The song's title is also that of a 1956 novel, My Old Man's a Dustman by Wolf Mankiewicz. The melody is borrowed from the theme starting at around 2 minutes 20 seconds into the music for the ballet Petrushka by Igor Stravinsky. The song itself is a change of style for Donegan, moving away from American folk to British music hall. The tune of the chorus has become a popular football chant in recent years. For example, Arsenal supporters sang, Arsene Wenger's magic. He wears a magic hat, and when he saw the trouble, he said, I'm having that. This one's got more energy and is more dynamic than the first song, and it's cool to see it get a second life at football games. I haven't seen Please Don't Eat the Daisies, but the summary is, drama professor turned theater critic balances his home life and career when he moves to the country with his wife and their 4 sons. This 1960 Metro Color comedy film is free to watch on Tubi but available to buy and rent on Prime Video, YouTube, Apple TV, and Fandango at home. We've already covered the TV shows, You Bet Your Life, Perry Mason, 77 Sunset Strip, and The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis in previous episodes. As for children and teen shows, we've already covered Tom and Jerry, The Rough and Ready Show, and Clutch Cargo. The only one we haven't covered so far is Lassie. Lassie is a 1954 American television series that follows the adventures of a female rough collie dog named Lassie and her companions, both human and animal. You can find episodes on YouTube and it's on Prime Video. Probably the most famous episode is number 24, The Well. Even if you haven't seen the show, you no doubt have seen it referenced in TV shows. This is where you have the reference where a dog just barks at someone and they instantly know what they mean. What, Timmy fell down a well? Interestingly, the character didn't appear till years later in the series, and the term Timmy fell down a well never happened. The original child was Jeff, but in the Simpsons episode Radio Bart, Bart uses a walkie-talkie to pretend to be an orphan who fell down the well named Timmy O'Toole. The episode had no relation to The Lassie Show, rather was based on the 1951 film Ace in the Hole, which sees the story of a down-and-out journalist exploiting a story about a man trapped in a cave to re-jumpstart his career. We've covered all the popular toys except for the Frisbee. The Frisbee is a registered trademark name, with the object being called a flying disc or simply a disc. It's like what Band-Aid is to bandages. The shape of the disc is an airfoil in cross-section which allows it to fly by reducing the drag and increasing lift as it moves through the air compared to a flat plate. The inventor, Walter Frederick Morrison, got the idea when having fun with his future wife while tossing a popcorn can lid after a Thanksgiving Day dinner in 1937. Later, while they were tossing a cake pan back and forth on a beach, they were offered 25 cents, or $5 in 2023 money. That's when they realized there's a market for an item like this. The first plastic discs were introduced by 1948. At demonstrations, he overheard someone saying they were using wires to make it hover, so they invented the sales pitch. The flying saucer is free, but the invisible wire is $1. There's quite a bit of history to the Frisbee, and if you want to learn more, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. If you're familiar with either songs or the top movie, let me know. On the Spotify app on phone and PC, there's now a comment section. You can do it there or on social media. That's a taste of what the world was like when Adventure Comics number 273 was released.
That was outrageous!
I'm reading this thanks to Showcase Presents Aquaman Volume 1, but it was also reprinted in the Aquaman Archives Volume 1 and DC Finest, Aquaman the King of Atlantis. Just like the other issues we've covered here, Adventure Comics is an anthology of stories, and this is the second behind Superboy. Per usual, it's either middle or last, nothing's beating out the Golden Boy. This time it's Superboy, Aquaman, then Congo Bill. Again, the story is called Around the World in 80 Hours. The story was written by Robert Bernstein, penciled and inked by Ramona Fradon. This cover of Adventure Comics focuses on the Superboy story, so we'll discuss the first panel of the Aquaman story. The Aquaman name is written in red, which may be the most common color choice. The panel's top half has a plain yellow background, and the bottom is a flat map of the world, with Aquaman's route planned. In the center of the panel, in a watery circle, we see both Aquaman and Aqualad both swimming toward the reader as there's an underwater explosion behind them. Aquaman is worried, as if we didn't have enough trouble. Along come my arch-enemies to stop us in our race around the world. In the text, Jules Verne's famous story, Around the World in 80 Days, tells of a hero who bet that he could travel around the Earth in 80 days. Now comes an even more incredible adventure, Aquaman's remarkable race around the world in even less time. But why does Aquaman make this watery journey, fighting the clock and a relentless enemy intent upon destroying him? Not till the very last episode does the King of the Sea tries to streak around the world in 80 hours. Since this comic isn't on the DC Universe Infinite app, I can't read you guys the About This Book section. After the break, we'll summarize the issue.
Is Aquaman finished? Can you make it to the bathroom before we return with part 2 of the show?
What it do, guys? Manjame here, and if you like board games, especially deck building games, you should check out @Team_Thunder on YouTube. There we have unboxings and games of Legendary, a Marvel deck building game, the DC deck building game, the Transformers deck building game, and many more. That's also where you can find VODs for this and Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast, where you can directly leave a comment and we can discuss the issues.
The Superman Aquaman Hour of Adventure, featuring Aquaman, King of the Seven Seas, and your favorite comic book superheroes in their own adventure stories. It's 60 minutes of thrills and fun, next on most of these stations.
One day at a book publishing office, a publisher hands a stack of papers to a man dressed in a blue suit. Sorry, Captain Curl, your novel about a swimming champion who swims around the world in 80 hours is incredible. We can't publish it, Kryl retorts. But you're wrong, my book is true to life. The hero of my book is like Aquaman. He could swim around the Earth in 80 hours. With his tobacco pipe in his mouth, the publisher says, well, let Aquaman prove it, and I'll publish your book. The publicity alone would make it a bestseller. The next day, as Captain Kryl seeks out the King of the Sea, we see that he's on a boat in the middle of the sea, and he's talking to both Aquaman and Aqualad. He asks for their help. if you help me, Aquaman, I'll give half of my book's earnings to a charity for retired seamen. Aqualad eagerly says, please say yes, Aquaman. In fact, I'll join you. I'll even take a camera along and snap pictures of our journey or the newspapers. Aquaman quickly relents. Okay, Aqualad, we'll do it. We'll show his publisher it's not impossible to swim around the globe in 80 hours. That night, as the exciting news broke, there's a newspaper headline that reads, Aquaman and Aqualad to swim around the world in 80 hours. There's a radio program, Aquaman's watery race will begin at San Francisco. On TV, there's a man with a headset with a clock in the background. If Aquaman succeeds, Captain Kryle's book will become a bestseller and make a fortune for needy sailors. Fast forward to the day of, as television cameras record an historic interview. Giant lights and a camera crew are surrounding Aquaman and Aqualad. An interviewer asks, then you don't intend to journey by land at all? Aquaman answers, not if we can help it. As you know, Aqualad and I would perish if we had to be away from water for more than an hour. The excitement mounts. Every newspaper in the world publishes a map of Aquaman's coming journey, tracing his trans-global route. We see that same map of the world with our hero's routes like in the first panel of the comic. Aquaman's estimated time between bodies of water, from San Francisco to the Panama Canal, 10 hours. From Panama Canal to the Mediterranean Sea, 17 hours. Through Mediterranean Sea to the Suez Canal, 6 hours. From Suez Canal to Indian Ocean, 4 hours. Across Indian Ocean to Pacific Ocean, 20 hours. Across Pacific Ocean to San Francisco, 23 hours. Meanwhile, a ring of international smugglers studies that same map. Boys, this is our big chance to destroy Aquaman. Every member of our gang will know exactly where he'll be for the next 80 hours. The leader continues, each of our smuggling units from Mexico to Australia will be gunning for Aquaman. He'll not only have to fight time, but us. Yes, boys, this is Aquaman's journey into doom. The following morning, as Aquaman and Aqualad leave San Francisco, we see Aqualad on land cheering on the King of the Sea. Keep stroking Aquaman. I want an action picture of you with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. He replies, make it snappy, Aqualad. Remember, we must be back here in 80 hours. Many hours later, near the Mexican coast, the two are swimming with a couple squids nearby and 2 planes closing in. We're entering shallow water, Aqualad. The continental shelf is barely 6 feet under us. Aqualad notices the planes. We're also getting an escort of seaplanes, Aquaman. Probably Mexican news photographers shooting pictures of us. When the planes catch up, guys come out from the windows and start shooting at the pair. Rat-tat-tat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. They're trapped. They can't dive to escape. For many miles, the ocean bottom is only 6 feet below. Aqualad's distressed. They're not shooting pictures. They're firing at us. The plane's right overhead, and they continue shooting rat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Aquaman calls out to Aqualad. They deliberately pick this stretch of shallow water to ambush us, but they'll be surprised at their next pass. Unbeknownst to the King's plan, one of the shooters remarks, the shots missed. Dive lower on the second run. But as the planes swing around low, 5 giant squids squirt ink at the planes. Aquaman remarks, they're swimming low enough for my squid friends to reach them with jets of black ink. Suddenly, the planes crash into the water. I can't see. I'm flying blind. Crack, crack. Aquaman explains, I noticed those giant squids swimming nearby and gave them orders by fish telepathy. Now they'll deliver those villains to the police. At the Panama Canal, 10 hours after leaving San Francisco, we see Aqualad high up with his camera posed at the king. Do you think we'll be attacked again, Aquaman? He replies from below, it depends, Aqualad. If it's that international smuggling ring we've been battling recently, they'll make us run a deadly gauntlet for the next 70 hours. Hours later, midway across the Atlantic Ocean, the two see almost a dozen ships heading toward them, firing boom boom, baroom, boom. Look, Aqualad, it's a U.S. task force. They're honoring us with a 21-gun salute. I guess the whole world is eagerly following our race around the world. Presently, a new threat looms. It turns out the ships have a red skull logo and shoots something underwater. Whoosh, whoosh. Aqualad's shocked. Torpedoes. Our enemies are following us eagerly too. Aquaman answers, a pirate sub. Now I know who's after us, Aqualad. It's Smugglers Incorporated. Their gang is out to get us. They close the distance, missing the duo but with some flying fish nearby. We're trapped, Aquaman. If we dive, the sub can overtake us underwater. We're not licked yet, Aqualad. Maybe those flying fish can help us. I'll communicate telepathically with them. Soon, as the flying fish obey Aquaman's command, they're leaping into the air to form a huge SOS. Right, I'm hoping that the SOS is sighted by the task force. Fortunately, naval lookouts spy the signal, then streak to the rescue. Back on the pirate ships, their fleet saw that flying fish SOS. Now we're trapped. We can't submerge. They'll blow us to bits with depth bombs. Another crew member says, "Curse Aquaman, but he won't escape his doom. Our gang will get him yet." As hours pass, Aquaman's race around the world is watched by hostile eyes in the distance. Agent X6 reporting he's now passing the Rock of Gibraltar. Port said to Aiden, Aquaman's entering the Suez Canal. Right on schedule. Aiden to Salon, he's left the Red Sea, now he's swimming into the Indian Ocean. Hours later, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, we see a group of men and an explosion off in the distance. We've exploded a small A-bomb. Its deadly radioactivity will spread across Aquaman's route. If he swims through the affected area, he'll die of radioactive poisoning. But Aquaman hears the dreadful news before he reaches the danger zone. We see the two swimming in one direction, with several kinds of aquatic life swimming in the other direction. Luckily, my fish friends warned us. To swim through the region, we must be protected by impenetrable lead, preventing the radioactive rays from reaching our bodies. As the King of the Sea commands his finny subjects to help, Aquaman thinks, my shark and sawfish friends will help me strip sheets of lead from the keel of this sunken schooner. As octopi securely wrap the soft lead strips around Aquaman and Aqualad, he thinks, we're being sealed into these mummy-like wrappings with enough water inside to let us survive the journey through the radioactive area. Presently, he thinks, a swift undersea current is carrying us along. We must make up precious time after the octopi in uncontaminated waters unwrap our lead-protected bodies. Later, at the smugglers' hideout in Frisco. Boss, our Hawaii members just radioed that Aquaman escaped the A-bomb trap. The boss replies, well, he won't escape our ambush. Load our mine-laying freighter with magnetic mines. We're heading for Arid Island, thus 3 hours from the Pacific Ocean. Look, Aquaman, our enemies are at work again, a field of magnetic mines, drifting toward us. The king responds, they might be extra sensitive and attracted to anything that moves. Swim for that island before our path is blocked. Soon the two are on the island. Whew, just in time. Now what? Cross the land? Right, we'll have to gamble that this island isn't too big. We can last without water for an hour. Let's go. But an hour after? The two are on the ground, crawling with the sun beating down on them. We lost the gamble, Aquaman. The end of this desert isn't in sight, nor is there any water here to keep us going for another hour. Wait, inside this waterproof kit in my belt, I carried 2 capsules and some waterproof matches for just such an emergency. He pulls out the items. This capsule contains compressed oxygen gas, the other hydrogen. These 2 elements, when combined, make up water. H2O. I'll pierce each capsule and let the thin jets of escaping gas mingle, as Aquaman places the 2 capsules following one another in a bowl-shaped crevice. Now I'll toss a match into the gas, causing an explosion. The heat generated by the violent mixing of the 2 elements will create much condensation against the canopy of rock above and drip down as water. Bram. The crevice is now full of water and some in the area coming down from the initial explosion. We did it, Aquaman. We combined hydrogen and oxygen to make water. Already I feel refreshed. Now we'll be able to reach the sea and swim back to San Francisco. That evening in the San Francisco Bay, it's nighttime, many spotlights and ships await the duo. We're on time, Aquaman, just under 80 hours. Thanks to the oxygen and hydrogen capsules, Aqualad, now we can go after that smuggling ring. Months later in the publisher's office, we see the publisher Captain Kryle and our duo. Looks like you're in print the same day my book is published, Aquaman. He replies, yes, Captain Kryle, but unfortunately rounding up those smugglers took more than 80 hours. The end. After the break, we'll go over some thoughts and feelings about the issue.
Wait a minute. That was no joke. Somebody tried to kill me. That or we're not paying Mr. Slippery enough. Holy Neptune's trident. This has to be the work of the Legion of Doom. Hey, there's an echo inside my head. Echo. Echo. Echo.
You okay, Aquaman?
Echo. Echo. What? Oh, no problem.
This issue has a lot of jump cuts to different parts of the day and scenes. It really kept things going since the whole plot of this issue was to do something in a set amount of time, so there was bound to be lots of skipping forward. It's weird that the publisher wouldn't put out a book out of fear that it would be unrealistic. The author argues it's true to life that a superhero like Aquaman could perform the feat, but even outside that call it fiction or fantasy, there shouldn't be any argument. That said, using Aquaman's trip for publicity absolutely generated a lot of interest in the book and ultimately the retired seaman. It always feels odd that Aquaman and Aqualad will so willingly give out the information that they'll die if out of the water for more than an hour. That really feels like something you should keep close to your chest. Granted, it turns out that Aquaman is ready for such a situation. With those hydrogen and oxygen capsules and waterproof matches, it's smart to have the fix to your weakness, so props to him for that. It's funny that, the moment the bad guys hear that Aquaman's doing this challenge, that they set out to end him, when they had the perfect opportunity to do more crimes. You know exactly where he is for the next 80 hours, and even if you stay one area behind him, you'll basically get away with all the crimes. Remember, this is a time where they don't interact with other heroes that much, and it was never established that, while Aquaman is busy with the swim, that Superman or Green Arrow would protect areas the King of the Sea would usually protect. Something that's not really explained is how Aqualad is sometimes swimming right beside him and sometimes over up high with a camera. True, he could be swimming the same distance, but that kind of takes away from how it's special that Aquaman's doing it. Before the challenge, Aqualad specifically states that he'll be taking photos, but I don't think it's clear where the camera goes between destinations. He doesn't seem to have a backpack or fanny pack on his person. I did enjoy how gullible the two are thinking, oh hey, boats or planes closing in on us super quickly. It must be the press, oh no bullets. Besides the H2O capsule system, Aquaman's ingenuity was showcased when he had Squid squirt ink at the planes to blind them and using flying fish to form a giant SOS. Not to mention the squid tore off sheets of pliable metal to wrap our two heroes to get through an irradiated section of water. That was probably the most out there portion of the issue. At that point, if radiation didn't stop them, likely nothing will. Just give up. What do you think? Did you read the comic? Did I get something wrong? If I do and you guys let me know, I'll include a correction section in the next episode and I'll credit the user. Let's continue the discussion on social media and the YouTube pod. You can find me at Water Damage Pod on X and at Team_Thunder on YouTube. If you're looking for another podcast to listen to and want to learn more about the Spider-Man of the future, check out Accelerated Visions, a Spider-Man 2099 podcast on Spotify and anywhere you can find podcasts. Be sure to follow that and this podcast to get the episodes as soon as they drop. Manjame out.
Whew, man. Glad that stopped before things got worse.